All right, it looks like we're live. Hey, everybody, how's everybody doing today? We got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. Or maybe it's a short thing to cover in a short amount of time, but either way, we're going to talk about how to win without winning, or really just win without having to put in much effort. However, we want to look at it, here's what we got to do today. We got Coach Prime. He hasn't had a full season in college football, and yet they're doing rule changes. Rule changes for somebody that hasn't had a full season at the D1 level, outside of, obviously, he went to the HBCUs, but he hasn't had a full season at Colorado. And yet they're changing rules. When Sha'Carri Richardson came into the sport and really pushed the barometer and got excitement in the United States, there was dogpiling on her. I think I maybe even contributed to that unknowingly. I still would stand by my position on what I was talking about her on. But then there were certain people that took that as a standpoint of going a little bit further than what you would expect, saying, hey, look, somebody's got a hot head, a hot mouth, and they're not backing it up in times. That's what I had against Sha'Carri. But remember back then when I said the Tokyo Olympics were going on, and I said the biggest winners were people that didn't even compete in the Tokyo Olympics. This is Sha'Carri Richardson. This is Usain Bolt. That's what I was speaking about. And Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, doesn't even have to win a championship, and yet he is spreading his influence onto the athletes, teaching them through his actions about what to do. He's gained the wealth, he spreads the wealth. Wealth can come in many different forms other than just money. That's power, that's the knowledge on how to get things done. And that's what he is showing right now. You know, many of these people talk about being fair. I'm willing to bet that if something happens in track and field, we're going to see how, quote, fair things are. But let's start off with Coach Sanders real quick about, and obviously for the people that are here for track and field, you're going to see this as something a little different. I'm going to cover all the sports like I always do, even if it focuses on track and field. But let's go. So we got Coach Sanders. Obviously, Jason Black at the Black Authority was covering this article yesterday. I actually happened to find this one just before he had posted it, but still, I got to give him credit where credit is due. So it says, NCAA targets Deion Sanders and Colorado's proposed rule change. The, quote, prime effect is causing changes from the top down. Remember, they said he was making $1 million plus just from those sunglasses deal. Like, you know, them selling everything like that. That's not him winning a game. That's not him losing a game. That's just him showing up to a game. Okay, that's where we're at right now. That's why I said how to win without having to win. Yes, you still had accomplishments beforehand, just like Sha'Carri Richardson. Yeah, she wouldn't have been as big as she was if she didn't run that 10-7 point, you know, back then. Right? Yeah, she wouldn't have been as big. It wouldn't have garnered as much excitement had she run a 10-8 plus. Yeah, that might not have been happening, but she didn't have to win a world championship to get as many followers, to get the deals that she was getting and signing, to get commercials, to get people rapping about her, to get any of these things done. She did not have to win the world championship title, and that's what this message is about. That is what I talk about in each one of the videos that I have on Head and Shoulders ATR. That's what we talk about on this channel. Where we go, even as individuals, and use these celebrities, use these athletes and talking heads and figureheads as an example of what we do with ourselves. Because I've said it before, and some people take it the wrong way. Hey, look, you can take it however you want. The facts are the facts. Some people and their personalities shine above it. You know, back then, I'll get to Coach Sanders in just a second. Let's go back to track and field for a second. So maybe I'll take him off of the screen. So I'll take him off the screen. And shout out to everybody that's come out right now. You know, back then, you know, athletes, they were really taught. And this is what happens in music too. The athletes were taught, hey, you need to run, right? There are people that talk about that now. You need to go out there and sprint and run and win, because it used to just be amateur. AAU, they didn't allow the athletes to make any money, especially in the U.S. Other nations, they had it a little bit further advanced as far as track and field athletics were concerned. But in the U.S., it was a little bit longer before they wanted the athletes to actually profit off of that. That's not saying that they didn't profit. Some executives and whatever didn't profit, but it's saying the athletes didn't profit. Okay, now the athletes are profiting. They're like, okay, I got to go out here and run this race. I got to win this race. I win this race, I get sponsorships. I keep doing that, I get more money. I show up to these races, and they had a lot of races that they showed up to. They had 4 rounds at the World Championships and Olympics at one point. Many people forget that. 4 rounds, not 3, 4. And some of these had prelims for the 10,000 meters. Imagine that. Do a prelim and then a final for the 10K. Imagine that in your legs, and then trying to come out and win. So then, and then you double with the 5 and the 10K, or you double with the 10K and the marathon. So with that being said, we are now at a standpoint, as it was even before, that even Carl Lewis, and I really did like this part when I was reading about Carl Lewis and seeing the interviews that he had and see what he was trying to demand for himself, to be above the sport, to get the sponsorships above and beyond what he was doing, to try to get the Michael Jordan status. And he didn't actually get to achieve that from my perspective of where he was. And I think he may agree with that. He was trying to do things above and beyond the sport and didn't quite get there. He was close to getting there in some instances, but he didn't quite get that lasting effect. Now, maybe at the time, I was not alive, maybe at the time he did get those some of those things through. That it was a similar but a lesser effect, because everybody's not going to be as big as Jordan. Everybody's not going to be as big as LeBron, Kobe, whatever. But relative within the sport, where's he there? So, Sha'Carri, she does not have to come out and win races to pull in crowds. That was the thing that she has. Does she still have that same effect? Maybe it's dampened just a little bit. Maybe it's increased now. All right. Shout out to Brandon. He said the business of track and field has been trash and dirty. Yeah, and that's what we're going to do. That's what this channel is about. Now that I'm on a steady drumbeat here, I don't care if 1 person, 0 people show up. Obviously, we need to have some viewers here at some point to do that. But as it stands right now, whether people show up or not, I'm going to do what I need to do in the background and in the foreground to try to get some things done. Because the athletes need to know. Here is an example of somebody showing you. We got Marshawn Lynch. We got other people outside of just track and field. And they should show you as an example. You don't need to win. Some of these athletes got kicked out of the sport and they still were generating more. Remember back in the Tokyo Olympics, I had that video here, one of my first videos. And I said, Usain Bolt and Sha'Carri Richardson won the Olympics. They didn't have to show up. Usain Bolt already retired. He didn't have to show up, do anything. He didn't have to take a blessed step. And yet, he was still earning more than most of those athletes that showed up at the Olympics. Obviously, due to past deals and what he signed, but he was still doing more and earning more and getting more business done during that week of Olympics than many of those athletes that were there. Throwing, jumping, competing, doing archery, horse racing, rowing. He did more than most of those athletes that showed up. And that's the whole point. When you got it like that, you got it like that. Now, he had to go ahead and get world record after world record, win after win to get to that point. But then we got somebody like a Sha'Carri Richardson that was hot-headed, a loudmouth, that was saying, hey, I can do something, and she wasn't backing it up just yet. But even before that point where her mouth met the mess up. She was already blazing a quick time relative to the U.S. athletes. Now, we could look at one thing and say, well, Jamaica, let's look at Jamaica for a second. Let's take a look at Jamaica for a second. Now, we could argue and be correct that Jamaican athletes, okay, they were running faster than that. A 10.75 or even a 10.72, man, that's not that much. We got Jamaican athletes. We already had Shelly Ann doing a 10.7 flat, Elaine doing a 10.7 flat. All right, we got them there. Plus, they've been winning all the time. Who is this young person here arrogant enough to think she can challenge the Jamaican athletes? Who can she challenge us with? But let me argue for a second. Let's do it the other way around. What about the edginess from the Jamaican athletes? What about the edginess from the West African athletes? Talu, one of them. What about the edginess from the British athletes, like Dina? What about the edginess of the Canadian athletes? What about that edginess about the athletes that are already winning? Where is it at that they will command and demand that respect, other than just, showing up on the track and doing what they do? Like I said, I think Shelly Ann is higher than she's ever been because she stopped caring now. She's even saying stuff. It's just like, whatever. Had she done that a little bit sooner, I think even some of that nonchalant personality would have gotten her further. It don't matter about the wins sometimes. Because guess what? I come from Chicago. The Bears suck. And yet you still get people packing in that stadium. I got one of the announcers on my Facebook. He was like, I'm watching the Bears. He's there live. He paid tickets for a losing team getting blown out. They just can't win. They got rid of Coach Lovie Smith, and now they can't catch a win. And yet, the Chicago Bears are still getting people to be fans of their team. Now, when we look at the United States athletes, some of the female athletes that show up or the male athletes that show up, you know what we do see with this? Uh-oh. Looks like my computer is freezing. Okay, there we go. You know what we do see with this? We see athletes getting supported. Sha'Carri got a support and a boost. Now, we can argue that it was from the media, and the media was trying to choose her for a reason. Okay, let's look at the other countries. How come that same torch does not get lit? That excitement doesn't get lit. I see it from the fans. I see that from the fans. I see it a little bit from the media, but they kind of tone themselves down. They're hyping it up and saying, yeah, we got some of the greatest athletes. Okay, do it in a way where it's, you know what? There is one Jamaican talking. I forget his name now. He's one of the announcers too, if I'm not mistaken. Man, I love the way that guy be going in on it. Because I think it's two of them that I listen to all the time. And then there's one guy that's on the media. I think that might be the announcer too, but you guys correct me if I'm wrong. But I mean, he be talking them up, and that's what you need. Whether, hey, look, I take it seriously or not, whether some of you all take it seriously or not, don't matter. You need those hype people there. Because guess what? In this media standpoint, they're ready to crown anybody that's not black as soon as they get a chance. If they even get a whiff or a sniff of it, they're ready to crown them at a second notice. So let's look here back at Coach Prime for a second. They're saying the NCAA is trying to remain relevant. Okay, they're already writing it like that. Like, okay, cool. It's struggling in the fast-moving NIL world of collegiate athletics. So the licensing agreements. On Wednesday, the Oversight Committee sent out a memo indicating they'll be proposing new legislation regarding photo shoots for recruits on unofficial visits. Oh, okay. This is a direct jab at Deion Sanders, who used photo shoot opportunities with recruits at Colorado to promote Louis Vuitton and Lamborghini sports cars. Okay. All right. Don't they got logos and other stuff for the university and everything? What's wrong with that? Okay, great. The snapshots were widely popular and became a viral sensation among recruits. Everyone wanted to come to Boulder to meet Coach Prime and be part of the phenomenon. It can still happen, but only on official visits. All right. It's another way to slow down schools from promoting, slow down schools. Direct jab at Deion Sanders. I don't think that's slowing down schools. That's slowing down a black man. It's another way to slow down schools from promoting recruits and allows the NCAA to enforce another rule. And to allow, okay. The photo shoot concept is a common occurrence in every school digs for marketing. But Coach Prime took it all to another level. Okay, what's wrong with that? Which in many way, okay, is another example of going against the norms of college athletics. Okay, it's not a rule. It's not against the rules. It's going against the, quote, norms. Now, remember how they banned Alberto Salazar and said he went against the spirit of the sport? What kind of vague slap in the face type of thing? The spirit of the sport. They couldn't get him on anything. So they was like, man, I really want to get this guy because I want to get him. The spirit of the sport. We're banning him. We couldn't get him for drugs or anything. He didn't break the rules. He did not use performance enhancing drugs with his athletes. He didn't do this other thing. He didn't do this other thing. But you know what? People were crying because he was a mean coach. So we're going to say he went against the spirit of the sport and ban him. That's what that sounds like. In many ways, is another example of going against the norms. The norms, huh? What are the norms? To be boring? To be bland? To be something that most people don't care about until championship season? All right. The NCAA's attempt to ban photos on unofficial recruiting visits will be interesting to enforce if it passes. The governing body might want to focus on fixing themselves to be relevant over the next decade rather than who might take a picture on campus. Thank you, Josh Toll. It seems very much like not being about to buy a recruit a meal. So here's the thing. Now, on the one hand, if he, quote, gets away with this, because look at it from the perspective of the people that have the money, which are white. So look at it from their perspective. Typically, it's how do we keep as much from you as possible and we maximize? Shut up and play. Shut up and dribble. Shut up and don't tell us any political position. Shout out Muhammad Ali. Shut up and don't do anything outside of the sport. We shouldn't hear anything you say, agree or disagree with you. We shouldn't hear anything you say. Just go out there and be another number on the field, another cog in the wheel. But Vince Lombardi, wow, he's an amazing, fantastic coach, fantastic god of the sport of football. Madden, he's a fantastic one. We got video games after him. That guy is great. Remember, this was kind of reminds me of that time when they tried to ban victory celebrations after a touchdown. And they banned it for a second. And then some of the athletes still did it. And actually, guess what? They brought it back. Why? Because they started to lose money. People stopped watching the sport. Black people were doing victory celebrations at the end of a touchdown. And it brought them more people and more excitement. This is what happens when you can win without winning, right? And if some of those athletes hopefully were able to monetize, all the nameless athletes over the years, but these same people, they might not have been exactly the same, but you get what I'm saying. Tried to ban that. You didn't have to win a game. You just celebrated and did a victory dance after the end of a touchdown. Who thought about doing that? Now take Sha'Carri Richardson and coming into track and field, where everybody and their mama, their cousin, they're out here saying, hey, I want to be like Sha'Carri Richardson, the normie that doesn't know anything about the sport. And there's a bunch of people. They're like, man, she's the fastest woman. That's what they took out of that. I talked to so many people. I was like, oh, no, these two athletes are faster than her, whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking to people saying, okay, no, Shelly Ann Fraser-Price is faster. Elaine is faster. And so on and so forth. She's not the world record holder. And I'm talking to people and I'm having these conversations. But so much excitement was from Jamaicans. That was two. That was another thing. Jamaicans got excited about Sha'Carri Richardson. There were people that got angry at me from Jamaica when I was speaking about Sha'Carri not backing up what she was saying, literally. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I'm speaking to them one-on-one in person, and they're getting angry at me. Some of them foaming at the mouth almost. And so Sha'Carri came in and did something that, you know, we haven't seen done since, I guess Usain Bolt. Justin Gatlin didn't necessarily have that. He kind of toned himself down after all of those, and the media was really hitting him over the head about being banned. They kept hitting him over and over, the British media especially. You didn't really hear from the U.S. media, to the point where they're targeting his family and stuff, the fans. They're talking about his family and everything, and it's like, okay, is this about him? Or is it like you trying to tear everything down? And remember the last time with Abby Steiner, when they gave her, World Athletics shouted her out for being the fastest in the world last year, when she wasn't the fastest in the world last year? They were very quick to say that she was the fastest in the world last year, but she wasn't. We all know who from Nigeria was faster, but they didn't want to mention any names. So when you got it, you got it. This is how you win without winning. Here's Sha'Carri Richardson. This year, she was looking very, very good. Like she said, I'm not back, I'm better. Even that slogan right there is something that can resonate with people. The I'm going to be better than my old self. This is something that's very short, simple, sweet, to the point. And yeah, she topped it off with a win. Did she have to win to get that point across? Not necessarily, actually. She did not. But it makes it sweeter with the win. It makes it this storyline that she goes on, the arc. And this is what we can learn in our own lives. We have our own competitions with ourselves and maybe some people around us, technically speaking. Whether you are actively competing against them or not, we're still competing in this economy. You can win without winning. If I show you something, and I'm going to bring it up right now. You know, like the Google Trends, Usain Bolt is still way above all of them. All of them. If I put Coach Prime there, Deion Sanders, there's going to be, Usain Bolt's going to pass him up once. But let's look at this. We could take a look. We're going to put Sha'Carri Richardson, Noah Lyles, Usain Bolt. And obviously, Usain Bolt is the one that is not competing right now. He's not competing. And let's take a look. Usain Bolt's not competing. Usain Bolt has more search results, more star power than Sha'Carri Richardson, than Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, than Noah Lyles. Now, Noah Lyles got a little bit above that, above him, based on, you know, the world championships and all of that, and then afterward and whatnot, and he was really eating it up. But you got Usain Bolt, which is on a steady, here, I forget what happens in January. Something must have happened in January. Somebody was competing. Or did he have rumors that he was coming back? Or was that, no, his money got stolen. I think that announcement was last summer. But maybe that was it. Who knows? I forget offhand. If somebody knows, drop it in the comment section. But anyway, Usain Bolt isn't even running and competing in the sport, yet he's still mentioned and searched about. He's still being compared to. He's still got his, what is that, Usain Lee. He's got that electric car company. Usain Lee is music. He's got things in real estate. He's got a lot of things going on outside of that. But let's take him out the search results. Remove. Let's take him out the search results. Noah Lyles is still above. Okay, understandable. Sometimes the, like I said, the men are going to be higher than the women almost all the time. If you compare the top men, top women, they're going to be higher. And I keep telling people this. They're like, oh, the women are carrying this. I'm like, no, you guys just look at the actual data. Now, obviously, this is just the U.S. They used to have the world when on Google Trends, but they changed it. If I went to other things, which are paid platforms, I'll show you similar things. That's why I'm just using Google Trends, because you can back it up yourself. It's something you don't have to pay money for. So I want you guys to see the same thing I'm looking at. Shelly Ann Fraser Price and Sha'Carri Richardson. This is just the last 12 months. Now, if we go to past 5 years, we're going to see Sha'Carri Richardson is really just kind of higher than Shelly Ann Fraser Price, obviously, in the United States. And the United States is a huge market. So if we were to go to individual countries, you're going to see some similar things. I've already pre-looked at this. All right? I've already pre-looked at this. And I showed you guys in the past. This is including the times when Sha'Carri Richardson was not winning. Was not doing anything of, you would say, significance. Getting blown out. Okay. Getting blown out and everything in the races. The World Championships went on, and she was talked about more than the other athletes. Here it is right here. World Championships during that summer, or the, sorry, not the World Championships. During the Olympics, during the summer, she was talked about. She didn't even have to take a blessed step. And this all has to do with some of the personality that they bring on the track and how they do that. Some people are just going to be better at us with their personality. Other people are going to be able to circumvent things. And this is all about, how do I make money in the sport of track and field without having to run a race? That's what I want to leave with you guys here. This has been a short one, very short today. If you like this content, always smash a like button. Give us an opinion whether you agree or not. This is what I want us to take away with this. Shelly Ann Fraser Price is making money on wigs and or hair business and maybe some other things that I'm not aware of, right? Now, what's the way, because they don't really pay track athletes like that. What if you're not the top 3, top 1%, top, 2-3% of the track and field athletes, which are going to make the majority of the money? What if you're not one of them? How do you make money here? You don't even got to be the biggest, winningest person out there to then take some in. Remember the shot putters. They're like, hire me. What's his name? Was it from New Zealand? And he was like looking for a sponsor. Okay, what if he thought of something that was a unique way to bring some attention to himself, to stand out in a way that would exist with or without the media, or the media catches on to that and pushes them? Now, everybody's not going to be that type of person that will be able to think ahead of something like that. That's not what everybody's good at. And that's not even what I'm arguing. I simply am here to point out how we can win without winning, and showing the examples. This wasn't as exactly a how-to video. That's going to be in some of the future ones. This is just showing you the examples of people that have been winning without having to win. Coach Sanders hasn't been there a full season at Colorado, and he's already making a huge splash. What if he winds up losing the rest of his games? Yeah, it's going to maybe dampen some of what he's doing. Maybe. Only time will tell if that happens. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's statistically impossible for him to lose all the rest of his games. But you get my point. Sha'Carri Richardson still, even when she wasn't winning, while her influence did dampen, it didn't be completely destroyed. Can we get some of the other athletes to open their eyes? Some of you athletes that are doing masters that have asked me to cover it here over the years. And then when I offer to do it afterward, then it didn't seem like you had the interest. Some of the same people asked me, they were like, don't care. I guess it was just at the moment. But the athletes that are doing masters, the ones that are just coming up, the ones that can barely get a win and just doing your local track meets, how do you get attention for yourself? Now, when I went to, and I'm going to say this again in a future one, because I want to emphasize this. When I was going to some of these track meets, sometimes there were people that came to the track meet because I was the announcer. Not because anybody in particular they cared to watch. They said, oh, Nick, you're announcing at this track meet. Where? Okay, we'll be there. There were others that said, hey, I come to these track meets. Now, I can only take them as serious as what they were saying. Maybe they were just saying it because they were being nice. But there were people that took pictures with me because I was the announcer. They're like, oh, here's the voice. Now, they take pictures with other announcers, like in the NBA announcers and stuff, and people like them and whatnot. But just take that for a second. I'm not the person out there running. I'm not the person that organized the meet. I'm not anybody of the highest importance. I think an announcer is very, very important because it keeps you awake during the meet, especially if you just came there for one event and the other ones could be entertaining or whatnot, or maybe not for you. But they came there because I was the announcer. Now, I even thought of a scheme that was like, okay, I know for a fact that people will pay attention to me more than the athletes if I do this thing here. I'm not going to say it because I don't want the other people to do that. And then I ultimately didn't do that full performance or whatever because I could do it after the race. It was something I could do leading up to a race or just after a race. And I know it will pull the attention away because I would sometimes sit in the stands and announce. I would sometimes be in front of the pole vault pit and announce the races that you would think I'm in the PA box. I would be in different places. I want you guys to think of unique ways to bring yourself and brand yourself because I did it and I made a separation between me and any other announcer that was out there. And if I were to go out there again, that's the only time I'm announcing. If I got to sit in that box, in that sky box, I don't think I can do it. Hey, somebody hired me to do it. I'm just telling them I'm not sitting in the skybox. I'm going to be out there in the stands with the rest of the people. I'm going to be out there on the field. I'm going to go from the field to the stands, to the field, to the skybox, to here. I'm going to be all around and everywhere. That's how I do things. And there are people to vouch for me. If you guys have found the channel and listened to this part in this video, then go ahead and do that. This is not for me to talk myself up, by the way. This is for you all to think of different ideas for the athletes that do watch this. I didn't have to run a blessed step. While I did run across from one side of the field to the other one technically. But I didn't have to race at all. I remember being down there on the field with Lena Irby. I remember that time when she came and she was going representing Team USA, but then she still went to the Indiana regional meet. Because I think it was either a prep or she had to do like one race in order to go to nationals or something like that. So she went there. I remember my cell phone got stolen there too because I put it down right around where the start was, ran to the other side to the finish, hyped her up. I was like, hey, this is our athlete here representing Team USA at the U16, all of that stuff. Now, I was there speaking to her directly, spoke to her mom, spoke to other people that were there, ran out. But most of the announcers would be in the skybox. They're not there talking to the people directly. So I want you to all realize you can do something different in your life, that you can make a splash and a standout that will make you more money. And at the very least, in the short term, it gets you more connections. I got more connections, which got me more track meets, which made me more money. Then I also was able to increase my price. Because then with my entertainment antics, I even increased concession sales. That's why some people invited me too, because they noticed that when I was at a track meet, through whatever the music I was playing, however I announced, how I interacted with people, I got people to go out and buy more. So you guys can do the same. I didn't have to win a single race in order to do that. You guys don't have to win at every single thing in order to do better than a person that is solely focused on winning. That's a win in itself, because you can win economically. And that's the point. That's what we're talking about. How do you win economically without having to win literally? Because at the end of the day, more money, easier to take care of yourself and your family. So anyway, this has been Head and Shoulders ATR.